everybody. Let's see how this works. Try doing a little riding and talking at the same time. I don't know if it'll affect my pace because I kind of concentrate on what I'm doing, but I've not done a ride on this bike while I'm talking. We'll see how the wind noise is. So this is all kind of a trial run for this setup. In my ears, all I hear is wind, but I don't know if the microphone will pick it up or not. So what are we doing? Well, we're playing in the mountains today on a 2022 Triumph Speed Twin 1200. I've talked before about what I like and don't like, but I figured, hey, let's talk while I'm actually doing it. I'll slow down here and get a gap, because all the looky-loos are up here driving 5 under the speed limit. That's why you got to come up during the week. But anyway, you know, this bike is brilliant. I got 1,442 miles on it. It's torquey, it's fun, it's got decent power. Stock exhaust sounds pretty damn good. I probably will, you know, do a full exhaust and get a tune and all that stuff. So Yamaha or whatever that was. And then the thing that so far that is letting me down is, and it's, I knew this going in. This happens a lot when you're a big guy, and you know, for the intended rider for this is younger guys that are, you know, into the whole retro thing, and then, you know, older riders maybe want to hang up their sport bikes and they want something cool, reminds them of their childhood and brings them back to that. And it's a very pleasurable bike, but it's also pretty damn capable. But the thing that lets it down if you're a big bloke and you ride it more aggressively is the shocks. Now for 2021 or 2022, whatever the last refresh was, they gave it much better forks, and the damping on the forks is actually pretty damn good. I'm very happy with the forks. Tony up at GMD might want to tweak them a little bit, but honestly, it's not the forks, it's the rear. And that was the same case on my Z900 RS. The shocks were adequate. They could be better, sure. You can always dump money into something to make it better. But it was really the shock that was like a pogo stick. It was too soft. It would, on the Z900, I could bottom it out. And you go and crank up the preload, and all it would do is make the stock harsh. And whatever, you remember, you know, when you're adjusting a shock that's non-adjustable, you can adjust preload, which really just sets the ride height. And by compressing that spring, you can make the suspension harder. And if the spring is progressive, it might actually make it push back harder because you're compressing the spring, so you're more in that compressed, you know, the latter part of the stroke. The problem with when you have a progressive rate spring is they tend to be very soft on the first part of the stroke because that's what's going to give first. And then the second part of the stroke, once the first part is compressed, the second part is often too harsh. And so you end up with like this compromise that's really just not good at anything. And so when you crank up the preload on the shocks, yeah, you might stiffen them up a little bit to where it's not bottoming out, but now you're in that stiffer part. You've raised the back up a little bit, so it does affect your steering geometry a little bit. But also it overpowers, you know, whatever damping that is built in, it's not adjustable. And when you get into that stiffer part of the spring, you know, you hit a bump, it compresses, and then the spring is pushing back even harder against that rebound, and so you get even less rebound, and you get the back end kind of pogoing. And I've got video of my channel of it happening. So I reached out to AJ Cycles. I got a good deal on a set of Olin shocks, and we checked the spring rates, ordered it for my body weight. So we'll have a properly sprung set of Olins that I'll put on and then take up to GMD CompuTrack, have them tweak it and set it up for me. I think that's really going to transform the handling, because everything else, you know, you've got the subjective things like the looks. I don't think anybody thinks that Triumph their Bonnevilles aren't good looking bikes. They look the part. I know some people have said, oh, the purists, oh, it's too modern looking. Whatever. We're going into 2023. It doesn't have to look exactly like it did in the 60s and 70s. It looks the part, though. It's classy, it's clean, it looks properly retro British. But now it's got better suspension. The tires are excellent. These are the Pirelli Racetech RRs. To me, Metzeler Racetech RRs. To me, they feel kind of like Pirelli Supercourses. They look a little similar, they feel just as soft, and they've got the same kind of wear characteristics. I'm already wearing them out at 1,400 something miles. I might get to 1,800 miles on this thing before the back needs to go. After that, I'll probably switch to Road 6s or something that's really good and all weather and really sticky. All weather meaning, you know, not snow, but hot, cold, wet, or dry. We'll go with those. Had really good luck with the Road 5s, and the Road 6s are supposed to be even better. And those will give me 5, 6, 7,000 miles out of a set, like I got in the Z900, and half a track day. Rather than, you know, tire prices are crazy now. I think the last set of tires I bought was for the ZX14. And I paid taxes and everything like $480 or something for a damn set of Dunlops. So the days of the Cycle Gear having specials on Q2s or Diablos or whatever for $199 a set, yeah, those days are long gone. So now, even if tire prices get back to normal as COVID winds down, you're still looking at high 300s for a set of tires. So I don't want to have to buy them all the time. And on a bike like this, you know, I'm making maybe 90-ish horsepower at the rear wheel and some good torque. I saw that Cycle World took a new 2023 bone stock, threw it on the dyno, and I think they got 100 or 96 horsepower, 95, something like that, and 82 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty stout. That seems a little high to me for this bike, but whatever. It could have been a Monday bike that was just the right compression and everything was assembled just properly, or their dyno might be a little high. But the point is, it's a fairly powerful bike, but it's not a ZX10 or a 14 or an R1 or, you know, anything like that where you're going to really need, you know, the stickiest tires you can get. These tires they put on here, I think, are frankly overkill for the intended role of the bike. It's kind of a weird thing. They give you the top shelf Brembo M50s, Brembo Radial Master, steel braided lines. They give you those really sticky tires, and then they give you these bargain basement shocks. So it kind of sends a mixed message in my world, but whatever. So we'll get the new ones on there and get those set up. And that really is the only thing that lets this bike down. You can wail on it. It's got the torque and power coming off the turns. You know, when I'm up here on these twisty roads, you can't. On my 14, where am I ever putting that power down? When I come rocketing off the turns onto a straightaway, yeah, that power comes into play. But even then, it's short-lived. You're like, okay, I've got on the power. I'm using the power. Now I got to brake. You know. So it will launch way harder. I mean, you're talking literally more than double the power. But up here in the twisties and stuff, you can't really use a lot of it. So it's a capable bike for what it is. If you want to look cool, and who doesn't want to look cool? Now, if that's all you want to do, then you're a poser. But you know, if you want to have a bike that's comfortable, that looks the part, it's something different. I don't know that I would have this as my only bike. Maybe if I was a bit older, but I'm still riding sport bikes and doing a couple track days a year and stuff like that. Hold on. Bug flew in my helmet and landed on my nose. There we go. And but this is nice to get up and play. I can ride it around town. It just kind of glides along. The torque is nice. You know, you're not going to win a race on the damn thing. But when we get up into the really twisty stuff, you can surprise people. You know, when I had the last Triumph Twin I had was that little Street Cup, which made 30 horsepower less than this. 50% less power. But it had upgraded suspension and some other things. Still probably wasn't as good as this. But I would go up there, and I'm not saying I'm Rossi and, oh, I'd show sport bikes. No, it wasn't like that. But I would go riding with people that were on CBR 600s or an R6 or, you know, some, you know, decent sport bikes. And the guys that were way better riders than me, yeah, okay. But rider skill being equal, it surprised a lot of people. They were looking back like, what is this, you know, old guy doing on a frickin' 64 horsepower or whatever the hell the damn made? What's this guy doing on this retro cafe racer with half the horsepower and he's right on my ass? So there were times I just passed him, you know, and I would just carry corner speed, and I knew they could monster me down the straights, but I would just keep taking bites out of them by just not slacking off on the speed, because when you don't have a powerful bike, that's the difference. When I'm on the ZX14, I can be lazy. You saw on track, I was not holding the corner speed that I did on my 600 on Road Atlanta. It's bigger, it's heavier, it's harder to flick around, and I'm also not as comfortable on it. And the tires were shit, but excuses aside, I wasn't as quick in the turns as I was on the 600. But I knew I didn't have to be, because I knew that as soon as the bike even started hinting at getting straight up and down, I was going to blow past almost anything on the track. And I'm not saying it's the fastest bike and nobody could pass me. I'm just saying that day, there was not a single rider the entire day that passed me on a straightaway. There was a guy on a BMW S1000RR, and he passed me on the outside of turn 1, and I'd look at my speedometer, and I'm like, I'm going 20 miles an hour less than I would on my 600. I'm going to try to fix that this next time, but he would pass me on the outside of the turn, and I'd pull up behind him, and we'd be going through a bunch of the twisty bits, because, you know, where we really couldn't pull away that much further. And the second we get on the straightaway, I would rock it up alongside him, and he'd wave, yeah, go ahead. And I'd wave back, and I would just go, and knowing he's just going to catch me back up in turn 1 again, and he did. On bikes like this, you almost can't, you know. I don't have that ability to go, I can be lazy here because I have so much power, I can make it up later. You don't. So this bike, I think, in some ways forces you to ride a little harder and try not to brake as much. But it also needs better suspension if you're going to do that. Out of the box, if I was like a 160-pound rider, I'm sure the stock shocks would be fine. But with gear, I'm 250. And I do ride it for this type of bike. I do ride it fairly hard. I mean, I'm not right now following the stupid SUV up here, but when we get up into the really twisty bits, I tend to push the bike, and that's when you find the limitations of the Speed Twin. For a guy my size, the bike starts wallowing around a little bit because the back shock, you know, the shocks, back shocks, all shocks only in the back, they can't, they're not really coping with it well. And so the back end starts pogoing a little bit, which changes your steering geometry because the front's staying fairly planted and supple. The front has good damping. It has good rebound. It's not adjustable, but luckily it's kind of right where I would typically want it. So the front kind of stays stable and planted while the back is kind of bouncing around. It's not, the bike's not moving in harmony. The back and front are not compressing and rebounding together like it should. The back compresses way faster and rebounds way faster than the front. And so you get that back end kind of hopping feeling, which changes your steering geometry when you're leaned over, which means your line isn't as smooth as you'd want it to be. You tend to shimmy a little bit. Not jerky like a, you know, like you're going to go into a tank slapper, but it doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence, and it just doesn't track as well. Please pull over. Yes! Thank you. You get a wave. And a thank you. See, that's cool. People do that. I like it. So, it's a very nice bike. I'm very, very happy with this. There's some things I liked about the Z900 better. The Z900, well, I did a lot of work to it, so the Z100 was a faster bike. It had more grunt, had similar torque, not quite as much, but it had a good bit more horsepower. And with those, you could get them up to 120 at the wheel fairly easily with a full exhaust and an ECU flash and an airbox mod. So for $1,500, you could have that thing pumping out 120 horsepower, and a cop? No? Just someone sitting on the side of the road. Miss tool. Alright, well. But this is kind of what this bike is made for. If you want to go to dinner, you want to go tool around town, you know, you're not interested in interstate or going on a long trip because you have no wind protection here, so the wind beats you up a little bit. I am going to fit a steering damper on this thing at some point. I've had a few speed wobbles if I'm really aggressive. Now maybe they're getting the shock set up, and you know, the Öhlins, and setting that up. That might actually make that less of an issue. Might make an improvement. But it's not raining up there. Anybody who watches my channel knows that I hate rain. All right, we got a couple KTMs behind us. Oh, they're going the other way. was hoping they might want to play. But these tires stick really well. They don't react a lot to the tar snakes. Ooh, front wheel almost started coming up. I was in second. But what's nice about this is, I'll tell you, the brakes are phenomenal. Like these are sport bike, full-on sport bike grade brakes. The Brembo M50s, 320mm discs. I mean, that's a similar setup to what my Panigale 959 had. So I'm very happy with the brakes on this thing. It's an aggressive seating. Well, it's a semi-aggressive seating position for this kind of bike. It's not your regular Bonneville that's got the swept back bars and all that stuff. You're over the front a little bit. Oh, dude, you're awesome. Thank you. See, not everybody in cars are dicks. You don't always have to do a dick pass to get around them. Just make yourself visible. They'll see you there. And if they're locals, well, if they're locals, they're either going to hate you because we're always riding like idiots up here, and they don't like it, which I get it. Can't argue with it. I'm still going to do it, but I totally get their perspective. Or they're like, hey, go ahead, go have fun. I don't want to hold you up. There's like no middle ground. They either love you or hate you, it seems. And I won't pretend we don't bring that on ourselves. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get rained on. I'm already up here. I have to wash the bike, but then again, I have an excuse to wash the bike. Oh, minivan. Get around them. Really is just a lovely, lovely bike. And see right there, didn't have to downshift. I had the torque just in third gear. My RPMs were down around 3 grand. So I wasn't riding high in the rev range, but it didn't matter. You just kind of go, and it just pulls like a tractor. It's agile, and other than the back end bouncing around a little bit, it's very compliant, it's very controlled, and I really don't have any complaints about this. I'm gonna go around him. Haven't scraped any pegs, but my riding style is I tend to hang off the bike a lot. I never get a knee down, but I haven't run out of clearance yet. The Olin shocks that are coming, I believe, are going to keep the stock ride height. So I'm not going to change the geometry at all. Although they may be adjustable ride height. I don't know. We'll have to see. I didn't get the piggyback ones because these ones were like 6 something shipped. Sprung for my weight. Brand new Olins. 2 of them. I think they're just black. And that was good enough. I mean, if I was going to have the front cartridges replaced and put, you know, proper adjusters and things on there, then I would have probably gone for the higher end Olins. But honestly, anything's better than the stock. I'll get proper damping. I think it doesn't have compression, but it has rebound, or maybe it's one adjuster that does both. I don't know. But they'll be more than adequate. But you can come up here and just have a blast on this bike. It's like, I miss the R1. I think that bike was just so much power and fun. I love the motor. And on an open road or track, oh my God. But up here, look what I'm dealing with. I've got really twisty roads, tar snakes. I've got slow-ass drivers and people that have never fucking been up here and don't know what to do with a turn. But she's letting me know she's going to pull off here, so that's good. At the very least, I'm running into nothing but courteous drivers today. This never, it's because I'm filming. This never happens to me. I'm just not that lucky. So I would be careful around this turn because there's another pull off that sometimes people pull out of. Not me, I never pull out. Ooh, 90. Doing 90 and a 35 there for a second. See, this bike's got plenty of get up and go. much more can you realistically use on roads like this? All right, now we're starting to hit wet pavement. Damn it. Now we'll drop it down a notch. Looks like I'm going to go right into, yeah, now I'm getting hit by rain. All right, you're going to hear me talk a bitch about the rain now. How do you like them apples? I don't think this is going to last long. I don't know how good these tires are in the rain, to be honest. That's another reason why I want those Pilot Road 6s, because in Georgia, it'll say 2% chance of rain. That means it will rain. It rains all the time. I think technically Atlanta, our climate here is technically rainforest. It rains 4 or 5 days a week. So you get some dry days here and there. Once in a while you get a week or two without rain. You know, occasionally there's a drought, but for the most part, it's just always raining. Which really sucks. Wasn't supposed to rain at all today. But there's a little pop. That's the weird thing. Like, I must have been on the edge of the cloud, because you see a little bit here. Tracer, nice bike. Wish it had worked for me. That's a bike that I regret buying. I had such high hopes for it. I mean, it had everything. It had good power, good handling, center stand that didn't get in the way of the handling or touching down, luggage you could just pop on and off, quick shifter, auto blip, cruise control, heated grips. I mean, what else would you want on a do-everything bike you could take on a trip? And unfortunately, it killed my neck. I could not get comfortable. This thing, no problems. Now the seat could be a little better, not gonna lie. My ZX14 has a much more comfortable seat. But those are really gonna be the shortcomings. And then maybe it's again because I'm a bigger, heavier guy. Someone smaller might find that the seat has adequate padding and is the right size and stuff. For me, I tried repadding it and doing some stuff with it, and it just made it worse. So I'm probably just going to have to go buy, you know, a proper aftermarket seat. But is this wet? Yeah, we're going to take it slow through here. Wet bank turn with tar snakes. Still don't trust it. Two up on a sport bike. Sup? I just don't trust these tires that are so good in the dry, but when it's wet, I'm like, do I trust them on wet tar snakes? No, I do not. And it looks like that might be the end of it. Hopefully not too much water messing up my lens. Dry that off. I'm gonna stop and get a chicken club sandwich at 2 Wheels of Suchess. Yeah, you won't pick it up from this video, but I feel that back end shimmying around. It's not sliding, I have good traction, but the back end definitely pumps up and down, which makes my line a little wonky. So hopefully I'll have a video up in, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. I think the shock will be here. There's nobody here today. What the shit? Weird. Well, I'm here, that's all that matters. Some nice bikes, like that old TLR. Used to have one of those as a dedicated track bike. Alright, I'll sign off for now. We'll get some more video later going down Wolf Pen Gap. That's a fun little road. We'll see you after I've eaten. Back on the road again. Luckily we won't get stuck behind a car club. Although, who knows, they might be faster than me anyway. Those are some nice cars in there. Alright, we'll get to the livestock. So, had a nice little lunch. Ran into some peeps that I know, talked to some new people, and looks like I'm headed right back into the rain. Yay. This is going to be a sucky ride home. 2%. 2% chance of rain, they said. And now I'm looking at it, and it is pouring all over the place. And the irony is the forecast probably still says 2%, which to me is a bit of a lie. They lie. It's no longer a 2% chance. When it's actually raining, it is now 100%. It is a certainty. Yeah, that's some ugly weather up there. That is a thunderstorm. Shit. So, I'm trying to think, is there anything I didn't cover on this bike? It's love, you know, I pull in. That's the other thing, you know, I've had Aprilias and Ducatis, and, you know, that's kind of where my heart is. I really do love those performance, especially the Euro bikes. But as cool as I think they are, you know, you pull up to a place like that and people are like, oh yeah, another Ducati. You know, it's cool. How fast is it? You know, the normal questions and stuff. But when you pull in on this, you pull in on the street cut. When I would pull in on that Z900 RS, I got more people. You know, I mentioned before, this is my 32nd bike, and since 96, but then I had that bike for 5 years, and then I was without a bike. So 31 of the bikes have been since 2006, less than 20 years. So I've had a lot of bikes in a relatively short amount of time. Although I put a lot of miles on them. I don't just buy them and get rid of them. I tend to ride about 12,000, 15,000 miles a year. So they get used. But what I see, or what I have seen, is that the exotic, super expensive bikes are usually not the ones that people are like gawking at. Now you'll have a couple guys that are on, you know, ZX6Rs and they see a new Panigale, and you know, yeah, okay, they're like, oh, that's, you know, because, you know, Ducati's very cool, they're considered exotic. But I get way more questions and looks and all that and attention on this and on that Z900. I mean, people are, I would pull up, I would be up there at the gas station and pass this guy. It is a double yellow, but it's clear. And, you know, Harley guys would walk up and start asking questions, and is that original? Oh, it's new, tell me about it. You know, can I pose for pictures with it? Nobody ever asked to pose for a picture with my Ducati. But these modern classics, man, are really kind of where it's at. People love them. They think about the bikes their dad, you know, they got into riding later, but they remember the bikes their dad had, you know, back in the 70s and stuff. And so there's that nostalgia. There's an emotional contact point, if you will. And speaking of contact, gravel. Yeah, they must have had heavy rain because it washed all the gravel out. There was enough running water to push all the gravel out. So yeah, I really do think that if you know, if you're at a point where you're like, hey, my sport bike days are behind me. I can't be crouched over on a damn crotch rocket. It's killing my neck. It's killing my back. I'm in my 50s. I'm pushing 60, whatever it might be. But you're not ready to hang it up entirely and go get a Harley. And there's nothing wrong with a Harley, as much as I used to goof on Harley. Whatever. My wife has one now. But they're, but you know, you still have that little bit of fire in you, right? You don't want the R1 anymore, but maybe an MT10, maybe a Z900 RS. You know, there are bikes out there that are much more humane ergonomically, offer you far more comfort, more versatility. It's not a one-trick pony. A GSX-R is an amazing bike. It's really freaking good at one thing, and the others, it's like, yeah, you can ride it on the street, but it's wasted potential. A Gixxer 1000, an R1, ZX10, any of those bikes, if you're not on a racetrack with them, and even then, you're not pushing it, they're wasteful. They're cool to have, they're a lot of fun, I've owned them, I'm not saying don't get one, but at the end of the day, you're buying what you want, because it's cool and it is fun. But you're not typically in its element. An R1 is a race bike. It is a championship winning race bike with blinkers. Same with Panigales and all that stuff. But on a day-to-day business, if you just have to go to the store and you want to go, pick up some groceries in a backpack or throw a bag in the back, you want to go on a trip, do people do it? Yeah. But, some people drive cross-country in their pickup truck. Is it really for that? No, it's for hauling stuff. It's for going off-road. It's for towing a trailer, things like that. And it does that really well. Does it do well with other things? Yeah. But we're going to go up here at the road shop. We're going to go play with some sport bikes. Oh boy, that guy is slow. His mirrors are not adjusted properly. I should be looking him in the face right now. But his mirrors are aimed way high. See, he's trying to look. He doesn't know where I am. So here we are. I think that this is a phenomenal bike. You can rip around on this. I'm not going to go too fast because I don't know if I get into the turn it's not going to be all wet again, but it's a thrilling ride. It doesn't have that top end rush and holy shit factor that, you're pooping yourself. Mud, fuck. There's poop. But it just, I don't know. I'll probably sound like I'm just babbling. I'm also doing this because, again, this is a test run, trying to figure out what microphone settings. Do I need to move the placement of it? Is it picking up the sound I want? What is with all the dirt? There must have been a bunch of cars or somebody going freaking off-roading. And I mean unintentionally off-roading. But there, 94 miles an hour. Nice and quick. Nice torque coming off the turns. You can late brake at the last second because you got really strong brakes and good, decent forks and good tires. It's a wonderful machine. This is where it's at. So if I got friends that are like, I'm not sure what I want. Again, what is all that mud and stuff in the road from? But you could do a lot of serious riding and stuff on a bike like this. You don't have to have a full-on sport bike. That's why I try to convince my friends Jonathan and some other folks. And at the end of the day, you don't have to take my advice, buy whatever you want. But it's like if you want a fast, capable bike, you don't have to have a fairing, and you don't have to have this very aggressive ergonomics that are, can be punishing. And for years it didn't bother me, and I can still ride the R1. I can ride the R1. I got the ZX14, but I could just be strolling along, upright, comfortable, literally just taking in the scenery. And then I see an R6 up ahead, and drop a gear, and okay, let's go get him. Maybe not on dry, muddy pavement like this is at present, but it's definitely a more than capable bike. I mean, you come out of a turn and it's just wheelie time. It's got gobs of torque. It's very playful without being intimidating. Some more bikes. We got little, I don't know what these guys are doing. Yeah, they must have been doing something on the road. There can't have been that many crashes. Although it looks like there was. Yeah, I mean, maybe they were up here. Oh, you know what it was? They had a bushwhacker at an angle on a tractor. That's what it is. They're trimming all the foliage on the side. Because it almost looks like a car went off. But I was like, they can't have had like 23 cars go off on the same stretch of road. We would have heard about that. Oh, just lovely, lovely torque. No top end scream, none of that rush. just lovely dollops of fat, meaty torque. You go through the turn and you shoot up 15 miles an hour in a heartbeat. You don't have to sit here and have the motor revved out. I'm in second gear just so I keep my, I'm using engine braking. I guess third will do. Yeah, still got engine braking. Tight turn, down to second. Is this the tight? No, this one's not that bad. Now there's this crazy left-hand turn. I like going quickly through it on the other side. But I think because I don't know, just the way it's banked, and if you ran wide or you ran into trouble. But here there's always gravel and shit. And if you go off, you're going down that goddamn ravine. The other way, if you ran wide, at least you got the other lane as long as no one's coming. This is Wolf Pen Gap. I love where I live in Georgia. I mean, the weather sucks a lot because of the rain. Some years more than others. But, you know, it's like this. This type of riding starts 45 minutes from my house. And there's literally thousands of miles of roads like this. And you could take these kind of roads, twisty, turny, gnarly. There's big open sweepers. There's really tight technical stuff. There's some that are like a step up from a goddamn goat trail. You might be better off with an enduro. But you got these kind of roads for thousands of miles, starting in the North Georgia mountains, which is like the southern tip of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And you could take this all the way up. Like, you could just be taking these kind of roads up past Steele's Gap. Keep going up past, up in southern Pennsylvania. There's just thousands of miles of this kind of twisty, turny environment. Beautiful scenery. It's a great place. If you like to ride, into my conversation in my other vlog about bikers versus riders, and talking about motorcycle clubs versus what people like me do, and some of the cultural differences and all that kind of stuff. I don't see as many clubs here. I know Atlanta has some. I've ridden with a couple of them from time to time, but I think in this part of the country, clubs are a little less prevalent, at least in North Georgia, just because of the terrain, I'm thinking. You know, because you see a lot of those guys are on big, heavy cruisers. They're not flying through turns and twisties and stuff like this. I'm not saying guys on Harleys don't come up and ride here. They absolutely do. But up here, this seems to be an area where it's mostly riders. I don't see a lot of three-patch clubs up here, honestly. And I think for the kind of riding they do, they're more in town, interstates, country roads, back roads. When you get into the mountains up here, you gotta have your wits about you. You gotta know what you're doing. It'll be very easy if you're not used to these roads on a big heavy bike that scrapes real easy in the turns to get yourself in over your head. People on sport bikes get in on over their head here all the time. We're going to try to not speed through here because this is where I got popped by GSP, although he was very cool. 63 and a 35, which technically was a super speeder. But he gave us a ticket, but it was too fast for conditions. No points, no insurance. $96. Very cool dude. And why? Was it because white privilege? No, because actually one of the guys with us was Dean, who was my darker brother from another mother. A gentleman of color. But we weren't dicks. The lights popped back there. We pulled over there. We were respectful, had our licenses out, helmets off, knew we weren't riding, showed him our carry permits, all that stuff right out of the gate, so he knows, all right, I'm not dealing with some kids. They didn't run. They're owning it. They pulled over. They're not trying to give me bullshit. And the concealed carry permit's always nice because they're like, okay, I'm dealing with someone who, A, you know, is letting me know, which is good. That speaks to you being a little bit responsible. But also he knows, all right, I got someone here who's been through a whole bunch of background checks. So when I run his license, it's probably not going to come up with, you know, bench warrants and a bunch of shit. So back into the rain, which is unfortunate because I want to go to Richard Russell Parkway, which is my favorite road up here. But the speed twin, street twins, speed triples, street and speed triples, Z900s, I mean, KTM Super Dukes, monsters. I think for the average person, today's modern, what they call standards, you're like, oh, these aren't really sport bikes. They're standards. They're upright. They're comfy. Don't be fooled, man. You could be up here thinking you're hot shit on your R6, and some dude on a Monster 1200 or a Street Fighter or a frickin' Super Duke 890 will eat your goddamn lunch if he knows what he's doing. Today's standard bikes are really, really freaking capable. There's some big-ass raindrops. And that guy's hauling ass in a truck. And now we're in the wet pavement, so we're going to slow it on down a little bit. But these types of bikes are where it's at. Now, I said before, I wouldn't have this as my only bike, and that's because I do want, at times, a bit more performance. If I was only going to have one bike, it would be a Street Fighter V2. It would be a Speed Triple or a Street Triple RS 765. It would be something that offered me most of the amenities and the comfort and up, you know, kind of in between ergonomics that this bike has. But, you know, more than 95 horsepower. I'd want to be up 120 plus. That's enough. Honestly, I can't think of a better street bike on the market right now than the Triumph Street Triple RS 765. You got Öhlins, Brembo, TFT, Auto Blip, LED lighting, good tires. It's light as hell. It's within I don't know, 2-3 pounds of an R6, but it makes more power and more torque. They underreport the power on those things. So Jonathan, if you're watching this, that's what I think you should get. I know you like the 750 because you like the crotch rocket and all that kind of stuff. I think if you rode that around for a day or two up here, you would find you are as fast, if not faster, on a bike like that than you would be on your 750. It makes comparable power to the 750, but it makes it a little lower down, so you don't have to rev the nuts off of it to get to the power. Yeah, I'm gonna get wet the whole freaking way, man. Oh well. I guess it's a good day to vlog. It'll keep the speed and the wind noise down. But you, just tipping it in the turns, you know. My stepdaughter, Sarah, if she didn't have another child on the way, she was gonna get like a Street Triple. And she loves her ZX6R. She would probably track that out, because I think on track it'd be the better bike. But when she rode my Street Triple, she was just amazed at how easy it was to ride quickly. You're in a better position to attack the turn. You got the wider bars to just, boom, put it where you want. You got the extra grunt. And you still got that sublime chassis and suspension and stuff. The brakes are phenomenal. Although Gixxers do have good brakes. They do use Brembos. I'll give them that. And the suspension's pretty good. But no rider rates, no ABS, no quick shifter. Oh, yeah. So, there you have it. This is our mostly sunny, almost no chance of rain. Thought I'd have a really good day riding up in the mountains. And it just turns to shit. But it'll keep the speed down and make it less likely for me to get a ticket. Got pulled over up here today, not too long ago. I'll show you exactly where I got pulled over. So I'm just loping along here. Alright, so what am I at now? 55? Look at the road that I'm on. 50, 55 is nothing. I mean, I feel like I'm just literally limping along. So I come around this turn doing 52 right here. Cop pulls me over because the sign there says 45. I hadn't passed the sign yet. So I got pulled over for 52, and it really is a 45 zone, but because technically I hadn't passed the sign, he gave me a warning, but it's kind of like, really, dude? This might be my first video in the rain. I don't know how good it is to watch. I'm hoping that the thing stays waterproof. I've got the waterproof where the battery, where the plug goes in, unplugged so that I can plug in my external mic. So right now this thing might not actually be waterproof. Hadn't considered that. I guess we'll find out. So, well, at this point I think I'm going to turn it off. I've talked long enough. This will give me a good enough reference. If it's worth posting, you'll be watching it. If not, you won't even know this exists. But I've gone a bunch of different speeds, wind noise. I can gauge how well the microphone's working, see if I need to adjust the settings. And if it seems interesting and it was good enough quality to post, just give me your thoughts. Anyway, everybody take care. Alright, we're back. Just as I was getting disgusted with the weather, it seems to have dried out a little bit, so go through a couple turns, make sure that my wheels are actually dry. So here we are, naked old man's bike. How fun can it be, right? I don't know. Pretty fun. Do not have to go fast. I can dry my clothes out. I'm soaked. Left turn can sometimes catch people out. It doesn't look that sharp until you get in it, and it's off camber a little bit right there. You can pick it right back up. What a wonderful little machine. Just haul ass on this little thing, even with the crappy rear shocks. Can't wait to get the new ones. Little wobble there. I do have another mod coming for this bike. We're going to put a, I had that front cowl before, but it wasn't, it cracked. I should have modified the mount, but instead I put some pressure on it and the plastic didn't hold up. So I got a brushed aluminum one and I'll mount it properly. So that should be in tomorrow. So maybe I get a chance to do that tomorrow. Take it for a spin. What's he on? I think he's on an FZ1. That's a good bike. Or it might be an MT10 looking at the exhaust. Well done, sir. Well done. I'm not a big wheelie guy myself. Probably because I suck at them. You always got to be careful because on this second driveway here, people come flying the other way and just pull, boom, right in and go right in front of you. Kind of wish I had come up on them on the front half going uphill. I'm always faster uphill than downhill. watch out for those. Little dab of brake, cut to the inside because there's going to be a bunch of tar snakes at the apex, so you got to miss those right there. It makes your front end go all wonky. Ride that torque out of the turn. Just a good sounding bike. Sounds like an angry bear. Shake that bear. Wait till I can see if I got clear track ahead. Yes. Usually won't pass there, just not knowing what's in the turn. I swear that truck sped up. It's like, why do that? You're not going to keep up with a bike, even this kind of bike. Just let us pass. Truck's not even in the mirror anymore. Dummy. Let's see if we can reel this guy in. I don't know if I can. Smell somebody's brakes. With everybody from Tennessee. And I got no hope of catching up to this guy now. He was pulling away slightly anyway. Now it's just, oh, that much worse. You get all the freaking out-of-towners up here. At least the guys in the sports cars will pick up the pace. I was up here yesterday and there was a guy in a GT350R, and I pulled up on him and he kept a fast pace. I stayed right on his bumper, but I didn't have my camera. Yeah, I probably won't even see this guy again. these kind of roads are really where this bike is happiest. You're not going outrageously fast. You know, you can hold a decent pace. You end up staying in mostly 2 gears, right? Third and fourth. Third through most of the turns, so you get your extra grunt coming off, and then occasionally if you want to make up a little time on a straightaway. Oh, bump. Ugh. You use fourth, but use a lot of engine braking. Triumph did a great job with this bike. Could be better. Like, if they came with like Showa big piston forks and Olin shocks, and, you know, sold it as an RS. I mean, they do it for the Thruxton. That really would make this even more ideal. It's got the brakes, it's got the power, it's got the look and the presence. Suspension needs a little bit of work to make it go from just a goofing around bike to a real